I'm not the bad guy, I'm just a bit surprising. It's not worth losing sleep, it's not worth analyzing.
Hello everybody, my name is Golden Freddy and welcome back to the read of Silver Eyes. I know it's a different intro, but I did it because I didn't want anybody to be like so excited anytime the book, my intro for the reads, because the reads are supposed to be nice and calming. And we left off on chapter 1, page 26. We are close to be on chapter 2. Anyways, information speaking only when he had wisdom or scarcedom to dispense. Often it was both at once. Does anyone know what's happening tomorrow? They were all silent for a moment, and then the waitress took the opportunity to come over for their order. Charlie flipped quickly through the menu, her eyes not really focusing on the words. Her turn to order came much faster she was expecting, and she froze. Eggs, she said at last, the woman's hard expression still fixed on her, and she realized she had not finished. Scrambled wheat toast, she added, and the woman went away. Charlie looked back down at the menu. She hated this, but about herself. When she was caught off guard, she seemed to lose all ability to act or process what was going on around her. People were impressible, their demands aligned. Ordering dinner shouldn't be hard. She thought the others had begun their conversation again, and she turned her attention to them, feeling like she had fallen behind. What do we even say to his parents? Jessica was saying. Carlton, do you ever see them? Charlie asked. Not really, he said around. I guess sometimes. I'm surprised they stayed in Hurricane, Jessica said with a note of worldly disapproval in her voice. Charlie said nothing. But she thought, how could they not? His body had never been found. How could they not have secretly hoped he might come home, and no matter how impossible they knew it was? How could they leave the only home Michael knew? It would only mean really finally giving up on him. Maybe that was what this scholarship was, an admission that he was never coming home. Charlie was acutely aware that they were in a public place. We're talking about Michael. Felt impassionate. They were, in a sense, of both insiders and outsiders. They had been closer to Michael probably than anyone in this restaurant. Both with the expression of Carlton, they were no longer from Hurricane. They did not belong. She saw the tears falling on her paper placement before she felt them, and she hurriedly wiped her tears, looking down and hoping no one had noticed. When she looked up, John appeared to be studying his silverware, but she knew he had seen she was grateful to him, not for trying to offer comfort. John, do you still write? Charlie asked. John declared himself an author when they were about 6, having having learned to read and write. When he was four, when he was four, a year ahead of the rest of them, at the age of 7, he completed his first novel. He pressed his poorly spelled, incredibly illustrated creation on his friends and, and family demanding reviews. Charlie remembered that she had given him only 2 stars. John laughed at the question. I actually do my E's the right way around these days, he said. I can't believe you remember that, but I do actually. Yeah, he stopped, clearly waiting to say more. What do you write? Carlton appealed, and John looked down at his placement, speaking mostly to the table. Short stories, mostly. I actually had not one published last year. Oh no, wait. I actually had one published last year. I mean, it was just a magazine, nothing big. They all made subtitle noises of being impressed, and he looked up again, embarrassed, but pleased. What was the story about? Charlie asked. John hesitated, but before he could speak or decide not to, the waitress returned with their food. They had all ordered from the breakfast menu: coffee, eggs, and bacon, blueberry pancakes for Carlton. The brightly colored food looked hopeful, like a fresh start. To the day. Charlie took a bite of her toast. They all ate silently for a moment. Hey, Carlton, John said suddenly. Whatever happened to Freddy's, anyway? There was a brief hush. Carlton looked nervously at Charlie, and Jessica stared up at the ceiling. John flushed red, and Charlie spoke hesitantly. It's okay, Carlton. I like to know, too. Carlton shrugged, stabbing at his pancakes nervously with his fork. They built over it, he said. What did they build? Jessica asked. Is there something else there now? What was it built over or just torn down? John asked. Carlton shrugged again, quick like a nervous tick. Like I said, I don't know. It's too far back from the road to see, and I haven't exactly investigated it. It might have been leased to someone, but I don't know what they did. It's all been blocked off for years under construction. You can't even tell if the building is still there. So it could still be there, Jessica asked with a spark of excitement breaking through. Like I said, I don't know, Carlton answered. Charlie felt the dinner's fluorescent lights glaring down on her face suddenly too bright. She felt exposed. She had barely eaten, but she found herself rising from the both, pulling a few crumbled bills from her pocket, dropping them on the table. I'm going to go outside for a minute, she said. Smoke break, she added hesitantly. You don't smoke, she chided herself for the clumsy lie as she made her way to the door. Jocelyn part of family. Jocelyn of 4 without saying excuse me. Instead, stepped out into the cool evening. She walked to her car and sat on the hood, the metal denting slightly under her weight. She took in breaths of the cool air, as if it were water, and closed her eyes. You know it would come up. You know, knew you would have to talk about it. She reminded herself she had practiced on the drive here, had forced herself to think back to the happy memories, to smile and say, remember when she thought she prepared for this, but of course she had been wrong. Why else would she have run out of the restaurant like a child? Charlie? She opened her eyes and saw John standing next to the car holding her jacket out in front of him like an offering. You forgot your jacket, he said. She made herself smile at him. Thanks, she said. She took it and draped it over her shoulders, then slid over on the car's hood for him to sit. Sorry about that, she said. In the dim lights of the parking lot, she could still see him blush to the ears. He joined her on the car hood, leaving a deliberate space between them. I haven't learned to think before I talk. I'm sorry. John watched the sky as a plane passed overhead. Charlie smiled, this time unforced. It's okay. I knew it was going to come up. It had to. I just it sounds stupid, but I never think about it. I don't let myself. No one knows what happened to except my aunt, and we never talk about it. Then I come here and suddenly it's everywhere. I was just surprised, that's all. Uh-oh, John pointed at, and Charlie saw Jessica and Carlton hesitating in the doorway of the diner. She waved them over, and they came. Remember that time at Freddy's when the merry-go-round got stuck in Marla and that mean kid Billy had to keep riding it until their parents plucked them off? Charlie said. John laughed. The sound made her smile. Their faces were bright red, crying like babies. She covered her face, guilty that it was so funny to her. There was a brief surprised silence. Then Carlton started laughing. Then Marla plucked all over him. Sweet Justice, Charlie said. Actually, I think it was nachos, John added. Jessica winkled her nose. So gross, I never wrote it again. Not after that. Oh, come on, Jessica. They cleaned it up. They cleaned it, said Carlton. I'm pretty sure kids plucked all over that place. The wet floor signs went there for nothing, right, Charlie? Don't look at me, she said. I never plucked. I never puked. We used to spend so much time there. Privileges of knowing the owner's daughter, Jessica said, looking at Charlie with mock occasioness. I couldn't help who my dad was, Charlie said, laughing. Jessica looked thoughtful for a moment before she continued. I mean, how could you have a better childhood than spending all day at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? I dunno, said Carlton. I think that music got me over, though, the years. He hummed a few bars of the familiar song. Charlie dipped her head to it, recalling the tune. I love those animals so much, Jessica said, suddenly. What's the proper term of them? Animal, robot, mascots? I think they're I think those all are accurate. Charlie leaned back. Well, anyway, I used to go talk to the bunny. What was his name? Bonnie, Charlie said. Yeah, said Jessica. I used to complain to him about my parents. I always thought he had an understanding look about him. Carlton laughed. Animatronic therapy, recommended by 6 out of 7 crazy people. Shut up, Jessica retorted. I knew he wasn't real. I just liked talking to him. Charlie smiled a little. I remember that, she said, Jessica, in her prim little dresses, her brown hair in two tight braids. Kid out of an old book, walking up to the stage when the show was over, whispering urgently to the life-size animatronic rabbit. If anyone came up beside her, she went instantly silent and still waiting for them to go away so she could resume her on-the-sided conversation. Charlie had never talked to the animals at her father's restaurant, or felt close to them. I liked some kids seemed to. Although she liked them, they belonged to the public. She had her own toys, medical friends waiting for her at home, who belonged only to her. I liked Freddie, said John. He always seemed the most relatable. You know, there are a lot of things about my childhood that I can't remember at all, Carlton said, but I swear I can close my eyes and see every last detail of that place. Even the gum I used to stick under the table. Gum? Yeah, right, those were boogers. Jessica took a tiny step away from Carlton. He grinned. I was 7. What do you want? You all picked on me back then. Remember when Marla wrote Carlton smells like feet on the wall outside? You did smell like feet, Jessica laughed with a sudden outburst. Carlton shrugged, unpretending. I used to try to hide when it was time to go. I wanted to be stuck in there overnight so I could have the whole place to myself. Yeah, you always kept waiting, said John, and you always hide under the same table. Charlie spoke slowly, and when she did, everyone turned to her, as though they had been waiting. Sometimes I feel like I remember every inch of it, like Carlton, she said. But sometimes it's like I hardly remember it at all. It's all in pieces. Like I remember the carousel, and that time it got stuck. I remember drawing on the placemats. I remember little things, eating the greasy pizza, hugging Freddie in the summer, and his yellow fur getting stuck all over my clothes. But all of it is like pictures, like it happened to someone else. They were all looking at her oddly. Freddy was brown, right? Jessica looked to the others for confirmation. I guess you really don't remember it that well. After all, Carlton teased Charlie. She laughed briefly. Right, I meant brown, she said. Brown Freddy was brown. Of course. He was. She could see him in her mind, but somewhere in depths of her recall, there was a flash of something else. Carlton launched into another story, said Charlie. Try to turn her attention to him. But there was something disturbing, worrisome, about lapse in memory. It was 10 years ago. It's not like you've got Demetana at 17, she told herself. But it was such a basic detail to have whispered. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught John looking at her, a pensive expression on his face, as though she had said something important. You really don't know what happened to it? She asked Carlton, with more urgency in her voice than intended. He stopped talking, surprised. Sorry, she said. I didn't meant to interrupt you. It's okay, he said. But yeah. Or no, I really don't know what happened. How can you not know? You live here. Charlie, come on. Charlie, come on, said John. It's not like I hang around that part of town. Things are different. The town has grown. Carlton said mintly, seeming unruffled about her outburst. And I honestly don't look for reasons to go around there, you know. Why would I? There isn't any reason. Not anymore. We could go there, John said suddenly, and Charlie's heart skipped. Carlton looked nervously at Charlie. What, seriously? It's a mess. I don't know if you can even get to it. Charlie found herself nodding. She felt as though she had spent the whole day weighed down by memory, seeing everything through a filter of years, and now she felt suddenly alert, her mind fully present. She wanted to go. Let's do it, she said. Even if there's nothing there, I want to see it. They were all silent. Suddenly John smiled with a reckless confidence. Yeah, let's do it. End of chapter 1. Chapter 2 will be in next time, the next read. Anyways, wow. You can tell everything's getting ready. Anyways, I may or may not do a video tomorrow. I've been really a little busy. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye. Stay awesome.